Hello, good afternoon and welcome back to the Fish Locker out on the boat. As you can see from the conditions, we have not been experiencing the best of weather down here at Cornwall. Yeah, this time of year this is what you get. Overcast, wind, rain and a bit of rough seas. Now actually this is like the eye in the storm. The wind at the moment is about 15 to 20 mile an hour northerlies. This knocks the top off. We've been getting a lot of westerlies, a lot of southwesterlies. When the northerly comes it knocks the top off. So I've got like a 3-hour window before it picks up again, and I'm going to try and get out and see my pots. Now the reason I bring my pots in at this time of year is just because this is what it's like the most of the time. You don't know when you're going to have to check them again. The rough weather could smash them up, it could rip the floats off, it could do, yeah. I've managed to keep 3 pots out and I've tucked them away somewhere like really sheltered. My plan is, hopefully, I'll get a chance to go and get them in before the rain comes. Wish me luck. Let's go. A lot of seaweed on them. That's got quite a bit in that one. You can see how this area in here is quite sheltered. That's why I picked this spot. Last one. Well, that's why that one was difficult. It was difficult because it was still attached to the seabed. I'm going to run off a little bit. We'll sort these pots out off there because we're quite close to the rocks here. But yeah, I'm absolutely minging. Right, we'll deal with it from this end. First pot up, the little male brown edible crab and a little velvet, and what looks like to be the only sized lobster of the day. Whoa. I'll put this one down and measure it because that one might be just beside. It's either just size or just under, so I'll measure that one. This time of year in winter, not very much crawls around. Like in summertime, you can shoot your pots in the morning and haul them on a night and they're full of stuff because everything's moving. This time of year, I mean, these pots have been out for 6 days and they're still not been broken properly. It's just the season. As soon as the water starts to warm up, things will start moving more. Little male brown edible crab and another one. Got an empty one here with a bit of sponge, a sea sponge. Now I don't know whether or not he's shed his shell in there or they've at him. Yeah, some more velvets. Now these are edible, these you can take these. I mean that one there's above minimum landing size, he's quite big for an edible crab. But there's so little meat in them, unless you're going to take 20, I don't think it's really worth the time. I mean if you're going to boil them all in a stew, and you're going to take the flavour, not just the meat. To pick them, you pick 10 of them and only get 1 sandwich. Another small edible crab. This guy here, like a bit of an odd warrior. He's covered in little scars. Lost the top part of his claw and everything. Yeah. Still undersized though. Oh. I think this one in here actually might be bigger. A few crabs and a lobster. Start with the crabs. There's no edible crabs in there that are big enough. Oh, little Jeremy. He's been in the wars, this guy. 1, 2, 3. 4. 5. Ah, come on, get out. There's a female spider crab. I'll show you the difference here between a male and a female crab because I've got a couple in the pot. Yeah. 6. Another female, 7. Oh no, I've got 2 females. Right. She's got some like, well, I'm not going to say a disease, but she's got some up with her. Can you see all that red stuff? She's got like acne on her claws. It's quite strange. Right. Females, I don't know if you saw some of the males there, when they come out, their claws were out there wanting to fight. Whereas the females, generally, they adopt like a submissive pose. Yeah, that's just to protect where they usually keep their eggs, which is in the fan in the middle. You can also tell because they've got a large pad under there, whereas the males don't. Also, the females have got like a humped back. See how their back goes like that, whereas the males is more flat. Yeah, these are all undersized. But actually, we do have, yeah, that's definitely size. Ooh. We have a sized lobster. Perfect. So yeah, we potentially have 2. Oh, what are you doing in there? And a Patrick, Spanish starfish. These pots are getting a little bit, these pots have been in the water, I think for about maybe 12 months. And because every now and again what I do is I'll take them out and I'll clean them. And I clean the ropes. You can see there's very little growing on them. I mean, in fact, the only places where there is a little tiny bit growing on them is the hard plastic parts. Like we've got a few barnacles growing on here. Yeah, he's done really well. 2 different types of pots, so these are soft-eyed and that's a top entry pot. Right. I'll get our lobster measured, one in that barrel there, because we might potentially have 2. Now, you're only allowed to legally take 2 a day if you're unlicensed like I am. If you're a non-professional, if you're not a commercial fisherman, you can take 2 lobsters and 3 crabs a day. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, 2 lobsters is enough. If you're eating 2 lobsters a day, you're living pretty well. Get that one measured, then get these rebaited and chopped back. As it turned out, when I measured this guy, he come in at 88. Legal landing size in Cornwall is 90mm. This guy was 94, and this little girl here, she come in just under size. So I knew it was roughly about right, but it was better to measure it. So this one's going back. And you, chap, I've got an invite to dinner. Let's get these rebaited, get the rope sorted, and we'll get them shot back somewhere else. Weather's turn, let's go.
Attack.
And we've come round to Jim's. Now James is currently showing us, James has just started fencing. What's that called?
Lunge.
A lunge.
We have a lunge.
So you lunge from the on guard, do you?
I've brought the 2 lobsters round to Jim's. I've the one from the crab pots and the one from the previous session on the shore. And those have just been dispatched and they're cooking away on the pot there. What are we going to do today, Jim?
We are making lobster bisque.
and learning about fencing.
Well, we
That's a lovely top you got there, Jim.
learned about the types of sword,
Yep.
on guard,
Yep.
the lunge.
With a potato peeler.
So, pairing mine, please.
The cooking of the lobsters to start with, it's just the same as every other time we've done it. That's salty water up to a rolling boil. Lobsters in. When the water comes back up to a rolling boil, 2 more minutes after that and they're done. So they've had 2 more minutes now, and you can see it's a full rolling boil. So they're ready to come off. And we'll get those straight into a cold plunge to stop them from cooking. Right. Add those straight out of the pan, and they're into cold running water. They hold on to a little bit of heat, and if you don't cool them down, they continue to cook and they'll end up overcooked. We're just knocking up, so an aperitif, is it how you say it, an aperitif?
Aperitif.
Aperitif.
Aperitif. Oh,
A parrot's teeth.
I've got the plates.
And the water that we use to cook the lobsters with, Jim's going to use that in the cooking of the bisque. So we'll get the starters all set, and I'll start on at picking these.
Well, if we're now you've mentioned them, we better run through fish finger tartar sauce sandwiches and some oven chips. I'm afraid I haven't.
Freshly foraged
Yes.
from the freezer.
Yes. I haven't got any rocket or lettuce to put in there for you, but
How are you cutting them sandwiches as well?
Triangles.
it's my
Are you crackers?
no, it's my upper class upbringing.
Okay.
It's, Lobster Bisque. We've cooked them. John is going to pick the meat out of the.
Do you want me to just put the shells straight into there?
Yes.
Right. Just to wash out a little tiny bit of stomach contents out the back of there. It's just a little bit of intestine line. All the shells into there, and a little bit of peel off the back. That's the intestine line that I was talking about. Just wants to come out, because anything in there has gone through its digestive system.
Lobster Bisque. I've got about 4 medium-sized shallots, roughly chopped there. There's 3 sticks of celery and 3 carrots, all roughly chopped in my medium-sized pan, because the big one is got the cheese sauce in it. It's another story. I'm going to sweat those down in some butter. That will be the basis of our bisque. Thank you. So just gas up a little, lid on. In this pan there's the lobster shells, plus I had some shells from previous cook-ups, and when John's finished picking the claws out, I'm just going to have to ask him to bash these shells up with the end of the rolling pin, and we'll cover that in some water which I've saved from the lobster cooking, and we'll make a lobster and crab flavoured stock which we shall add to the vegetables. So by straining that out, we don't run the risk of getting any shell into the finished soup.
There we are, we have all the claws and the tail sections and all the shells. If there's anything left in there, that's what goes into your stock.
Sorry.
Right, John, could you
Awesome.
bash those?
Just clean my hands for a second. And then I'll
If you just get these vegetables are sweating down, there's a good sort of 3 ounces of butter, a most generous knob.
Did I say you just put a little bit of white pepper in there as well, did you?
I did, yes. We've got salt in the lobster water.
The water will be briny anyway because it's had saltwater shellfish in it.
So we don't want any colour. Let that cook away. There's the crab and lobster shells. I had shells from a previous cook-up, so this is...
You can make it with all just lobster or mixture of lobster and crabs or...
That's some of the...
Yeah, all I've done is I just took the back end of the rolling pin and just given them a little bit of a mash.
That's right. Some people like to roast the shells.
I did elect to do it outside though to make sure there wasn't any
In Carol's slippers.
collateral damage.
Shouldn't have said that, should I?
I didn't mash it with Carol's slippers. I mashed it with Carol's rolling pin. I was wearing Carol's slippers.
Right, I've just made up with some cold water, and we're going to let that simmer
Yeah.
for, we'll give that about 20 minutes. We don't want it to boil, it'll just simmer away.
What happens when it boils? Does it change the flavour of it? Well, it'd just make a mess, won't it?
Well, stocks and soups should not be boiled.
Okay.
Simmer.
I'll take that as a given. Right.
Yes. There used to be an old saying about...
Is it an old saying or is it just a saying that you say?
It's a saying that I say. I believe Mrs. Noah may have passed it on the ark when...
I should hear it from you. I'll get him back for making fun of my nose.
I wasn't making fun of your nose, John.
Just a question about these turkeys here. You were saying that these are your freebies.
Oh, yes, because it's light in the morning at 6:30, so I was just digging over a little strip of land where I'd grown potatoes a couple of years ago, and found these, and a beetroot.
So these are all just self-germinated, self-planted, self-grown
Self-grown
little sneaky
potatoes.
ones.
I was telling you about the broad beans, which I planted in November. Well, they're like this tall and budding. A couple of weeks we should be picking them. Anyway, so there we go. The cracked shells are going to simmer away for 20 minutes. The vegetables are softening. In about 10 minutes we'll put
You keep the lid on them to soften them, don't you?
we
Without
don't want
colour.
any colour,
Yeah.
just to soften them. And then I'll put probably 2 kitchen spoons of plain flour to make the roux, which will thicken the soup. If you don't wish to use flour, you could use potato and blitz it, or corn flour. And I will too add a splash of white wine.
Okay.
It's not essential, it's just that I've got some open and it needs to be used. You can use alcohol-free wine or leave it out. Okay, welcome back. Our vegetables are pale and soft. That is ticking away. Let's get it a bit slower. Right, flour. Plain flour. This is the thickening agent for the bisque. I'm just going to stir that in and we'll let it cook out for about 4 or 5 minutes so that the flour cooks through. We will, in about 10 minutes, strain this stock through a sieve to remove the cooked bones, and then we'll start adding it to our vegetable and flour mix. We will be passing this through a colander to remove the vegetables, so it doesn't matter.
So you're purely getting flavour out of it.
All we want is flavour. Got flavour from the shells, flavour from the vegetables. Right, tomato puree. We let the flour cook out. This, besides adding a little depth of flavour, will give us that lovely sort of terracotta colour.
How much you putting?
That's a tablespoon. A level tablespoon, I suppose. There it is. I'm going to put in some. This is a dry white wine. There's a generous glassful. But you don't have to use this at all.
So you could just use water, you could use anything.
Well, just the stock. You don't need to replace the wine with anything.
The smell coming from those shells it's I just think of it as being like the sea of the beach. It's just like a seaside smell, isn't it?
It's lovely, isn't it?
It's not just crab, it's not just lobster, it just smells like the sea.
I tell you what, that is nostalgia in a pot. The food of yesteryear is flavoured with nostalgia. Shall I go first in case?
I'll let you go first and burn yourself, and then I'll.
Oh my word! Just need a little salt, actually, in there.
It is quite. It's not as strong as the smell as that I'm getting from it, is it?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, just like a mixture of seafood.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Delicious, yeah. It's not. It's quite a smooth taste as well.
What?
You'd enjoy that.
Does it taste like low tide?
Without the sand. Here you are. Don't turn the camera off, John. I've got a thought in my head. Now, if we strain that off and let it reduce slightly, we could make a beautiful thin fish soup with that. A bit of bream, ling, pollock, bit of cod, little pinch of saffron, flavoured mayonnaise stirred.
So you just split the stock in half, wouldn't you? Keep half the stock.
Well,
and
that's
make
what I intend doing because I've got too much there. But we could leave the lid off, and I'm going to let that reduce for another 5 minutes, and it will intensify the flavour. Just going to make some little lobster dippers to go with our soup.
So just bite-sized pieces.
Yes, I'm going to pass them through seasoned flour, a beaten egg, and then roll them into breadcrumbs, and we'll shallow fry them, and we can just pick them up because they'll be coated in breadcrumbs. There we go. Nothing too thick because it's already cooked, and we just want to colour the breadcrumbs. Pieces of lobster. This is plain flour with a grind of pepper and a little bit of salt, a beaten egg, breadcrumbs from the freezer, thoroughly defrosted.
Just little bite-sized pieces, aren't they?
Yes. Remember to keep one hand dry.
Otherwise you just end up with everything claggy, don't you?
Yes. So, my flour sieve, I'm just going to strain some out. That will do for now. There we go. Right, let's bring on. I'm not going to tip this in because it would end up flooding the stove top.
Slopping all over the place, wouldn't you?
Yeah, no, just carefully. It's on a low light. Just going to stir that in, and when we've got most of that liquid in, we'll add more. Okay, I've just made the second addition of stock, so that's all that's left.
So you've had probably half a pan in there, haven't you now?
Yes. So we'll just now let that simmer gently for 15 minutes, and then we'll strain it. Well, I might give it a blitz actually. I'll put the blender through it, and then we'll rub it through this sieve. Right, that had a cook out, so we'll have a taste. Definitely some little bit of, not a lot, just a grind of pepper, a gym-proof pepper mill.
Smashed the last one, didn't you?
Now, again, you don't have to do this, but I like to richen that up with a slug of cooking brandy. It's perfectly acceptable to leave it out, but it just adds something, I think. See how that has come together.
So you're going to blitz that now and then put it through a sieve?
Well, I don't think I will.
But it is quite thick already, isn't it?
I don't need to blitz it. We'll end up letting it down if I... Very rich and subtle soup. We could have strengthened the flavour slightly by reducing the strained stock, and that would give you a much more powerful seafood flavour. Shellfish flavour, sorry. That suits me admirably. All I've got to do now is find a saucepan to strain that into. Okay, just a couple of ladlefuls into the sieve, and then we just rub it through with the back of the spoon. Just remember to scrape off the bottom. That's where all the good stuff is. Right, I'll just rinse the ladle, John.
That is almost like I don't know, gelatinous.
No, it's
just like a really thick sauce.
It is. Could do with a spoonful of stock just to let it down. But on a winter's day like today, it's quite warming. So there's no shellfish meat in there. That is the stock from the bones, onion or shallots, carrot, celery sweated down, some flour to thicken, tomato puree, splash of white wine, entirely optional, a splash of cooking brandy, again entirely optional, and season to your own taste. I'm just going to put this on low.
Yep.
Sorry about the audio. Now we'll lower these in, not too quickly, let the oil recover. Starting to turn them. The lobster meat's already cooked, so it's only the breadcrumbs we're crisping up.
Must have been wholemeal breadcrumbs. I can see the seeds from the gallery.
Oh, yes, I like seedy bread. Do you want one ladleful to start with, Hannah?
Yeah, just in case. So I don't know.
No,
I'm not sure if I've ever tried it before.
No. There is cream if you want to add it.
This is it. When it's thicker like this, it always holds the temperature well, doesn't it? It's like lava. It's not bad.
I should put a handful of chips in it.
Oh, texture-wise, it's incredibly strong. It's
Lobster Goujon.
Oh, they're good.
Oh.
It's full of your store.
Yeah. I've just added some of the French fries from earlier. It's absolutely delicious. I'm saying those on their own, you could have those just with like a dip, couldn't you? You could have like a mango mayonnaise or even like a chili mayonnaise to go with those.
Yeah, lemon, mayonnaise, anything. I'd like to dunk in that. Soup is.
Amazing, aren't they? A couple of magpies fighting in the garden. I'm going to get stuck into this anyway. That was absolutely delicious. And we were just talking, it is incredibly rich and without any cream either. So it was, thank you very much, and that was amazing.
It is, it's incredible what you can do with some vegetables and some stock off the bones. Anyway, I'm finished this.
Pardon me. They were delicious as well. Weren't they? We were just talking that they would be perfect to just make on their own and have like a sweet chili mayonnaise or even like a mango mayonnaise. This was made with lobster and crab shells, wasn't it? You can do it with either. You can just do like a crab shell one, or you can do a lobster shell one, or a mixed one.
That's it. Oh, be full for the week now.
Thank you again, Jim.
Delighted.
I hope you enjoyed joining us. I hope you found it interesting. All the very best.
Bye bye.
See you later. You gonna wave bye, Jim?
Bye.